Henry had always believed in loyalty, in the quiet strength of commitment, in the idea that love, once chosen, was unbreakable. But as he sat in his dimly lit study, staring at the folder Fiona had placed before him, he realized how foolish he had been. The weight of betrayal settled over him, not in a sharp, explosive burst, but in a slow, suffocating ache. The text messages were damning. Ella's words, once reserved for him, now whispered to another man. The voice recordings dripped with a desire she had long denied him. And the videos, grainy, yet unmistakable, erased every illusion he had ever held about his marriage. It wasn't just the affair that hollowed him out, it was the deception. The ease with which she had woven lies into their life. The way she had smiled at him over breakfast while planning nights in another man's arms. Worse still, her family had known. They had shielded her, played their parts in the grand performance of her innocence. He wasn't just betrayed by his wife, he was made a fool by everyone who claimed to care for him. Henry didn't feel anger, not yet, just a quiet, suffocating kind of death. There had been a time when Henry could recall every little thing about Ella, the way her laughter used to fill their home, the warmth of her touch, the quiet comfort of waking up beside her. Love had been easy then, something natural, something unquestioned. But now, as he sat in the cold silence of their house, all of it felt like a distant echo, a dream belonging to a different man. The weight of what he knew pressed against him, not with the sharp sting of betrayal, but with something far worse, emptiness. The kind that seeped into his bones, dulled his senses, made him wonder if he had ever truly known her at all. There was no anger left to burn, no grief left to rise. He had felt it, briefly, when he first saw the proof, the texts dripping with affection, the hushed confessions over the phone, the stolen moments in hotel rooms that weren't theirs. But now, all that remained was the slow, inevitable death of love, not a violent end, not a spectacular collapse, but a quiet, merciless erosion. He thought of her hands, once intertwined with his, now tangled in another man's grasp. He thought of the vows they had spoken, now meaningless words swallowed by time and deceit. What did love become when stripped of trust? Nothing. And that's exactly what he felt now. He had once believed that love was something unshakable, something that could withstand the trials of life. But now he knew the truth. Love didn't shatter. It withered, it faded, it became something unrecognizable before finally disappearing altogether. Henry didn't rage, he didn't scream, he didn't smash the glass in his hand or curse Ella's name to the heavens. Those reactions belonged to men who still felt something. But Henry, he had already stepped past the edge of heartbreak and into something far colder. Betrayal had not shattered him, it had sharpened him, honed him into something precise and unyielding. The moment he met Fiona's gaze across the table, he knew they were the same. Two people stripped of illusion, of warmth, of anything that made them human in the way others were. Fiona had laid out her offer with the calmness of a business deal. Her voice smooth and deliberate. Divorce was an option. He could walk away, let Ella keep spinning her web of lies, let her family keep their charade intact, or he could ensure that she paid, truly paid, in a way that left no room for redemption. He didn't hesitate. I want her to suffer. The words left his lips not as a declaration of rage, but as a simple truth. And so, the plan began. They met in quiet places, in hushed corners where shadows swallowed secrets. Fiona spoke in a way that made it clear, this wasn't personal for her. It was methodical. A clean accident is always better than a scandal. She had murmured over wine. Henry nodded, but his mind wasn't on discretion. He didn't just want Ella gone. He wanted her to know, in her last moments, that she had lost everything. And when that time came, he would make sure she did. Henry had never believed in fate, but when he looked at Fiona, he wondered if perhaps the universe had a dark sense of humor. She was nothing like Ella, where his wife had been soft, deceptive in her sweetness. Fiona was sharp-edged, a woman who didn't need lies to get what she wanted. There was a stillness to her, the kind that wasn't peace but control, a quiet, lethal kind of power that few possessed. And yet, when she spoke of Gabriel, there was something underneath the ice, a crack, a wound too deep to heal. They were alike in ways neither of them cared to admit. They had both been betrayed, discarded by the people they had once given everything to. But where others might have mourned, they had chosen something else: destruction. Their connection was not born from comfort or affection, but from an understanding forged in bitterness. Fiona didn't offer empty reassurances or ask if Henry was okay. She simply moved beside him, as if they had been walking the same path long before they had even met. Their meetings were never romantic, never sentimental, but the tension between them grew nonetheless. It wasn't passion, not in the way he had once understood it. It was something darker. Something built on the ruins of what they had lost. And when her fingers brushed against his one night, just for a second, he didn't pull away. He knew then that this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about two people who had been stripped of love, who had nothing left but the promise of ruin. And maybe that was enough. When the fire began, Ella and Gabriel were still tangled in each other, oblivious to the invisible danger creeping into the walls, the floors, the air they breathed. Henry imagined it as he sat in the stillness of his home, hands wrapped around a glass of whiskey, waiting, not with eagerness. There was no thrill in this, no satisfaction, but with the quiet certainty of a man who had long accepted what needed to be done. There was no turning back now. The match had been struck, the spark ignited, and all that was left was to let the flames do their work. The lake house had been chosen carefully, isolated, beautiful, perfect for a secret rendezvous. The gas had seeped in soundlessly, filling every crevice, coating every surface, and when the time was right, the trigger was set. A flicker, a single spark, and then, an eruption. Fire roared to life, swallowing the house whole, a beast with an insatiable hunger. Henry imagined their panic, the frantic scramble for the door, the way their lungs would burn before the flames even reached them. He had thought he might feel something in this moment, a flicker of regret. Maybe, but all he felt was nothing. This wasn't anger, it wasn't revenge, it was justice, served cold. Ella and Gabriel had stolen something from him, his trust, his dignity, his belief in love itself. And now, he had taken something from them in return. There was no mercy in betrayal, no second chances. As the fire raged in the distance, Henry simply sat back and took another sip of his drink. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and sorrow, the kind of place where grief lingered in the air, thick and suffocating. Henry walked through the sterile white halls with measured steps, his expression unreadable. He had received the call hours earlier. Ella was alive, but barely. The doctors had done what they could, but the fire had taken almost everything from her. Now, she lay somewhere in this building, burned, broken, unrecognizable. He didn't come to see her. He came to end the conversation. Ella's father was waiting in the corridor, his face a mess of exhaustion and despair. The moment he spotted Henry, he surged forward, desperation thick in his voice. "Now you come?" he accused. "Now that she's dying?" Henry didn't move, didn't flinch. His gaze was cold, detached. "She's already dead to me," he said simply. Her father inhaled sharply, grief twisting his features. "She made a mistake." Henry let out a slow, bitter laugh. "A mistake?" His voice was eerily calm. "She spent months lying to my face, sleeping in another man's bed. You knew, her mother knew, her sister covered for her. And now you want my sympathy?" The older man swallowed hard. "She loves you, Henry. She loves the kids." Henry's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "No, she loved the comfort I provided. That's not the same." Silence stretched between them. Then, with a final glance toward the closed hospital door, the one he would never step through, Henry turned his back and walked away. Ella was gone, and he had nothing left to say. The funeral came and went, but Henry didn't attend. There was nothing for him there, no closure, no grief, no final words left unsaid. Ella was gone, reduced to ash like the lies she had built her life upon. He had thought, perhaps, that in the quiet after, something would stir within him, maybe regret, maybe relief, but there was only silence, an endless stretch of nothingness that neither comforted nor tormented him. Life moved forward, As it always did, the house, once filled with the echo of her presence, became just a house again. He packed away her belongings without ceremony. Let the world erase her name from their lives piece by piece. There were no restless nights, no lingering ghosts, just the cold certainty that she had taken something from him that could never be restored. Fiona, however, remained. She slipped into the empty spaces without effort, without question, as if she had always belonged there. There was no softness between them, no declarations of love whispered in the dark. Their relationship was not built on warmth, it was built on understanding. On the knowledge that neither would betray the other the way they had been betrayed. Fiona gave him her loyalty, her protection, her unwavering presence, and in return, he gave her the one thing he had left to offer, himself. As the days turned into months, Henry realized that this was his victory. He had not won back love, nor had he sought it. What he had gained was far more valuable, control. And that, he decided, was enough. Fiona was not the kind of woman one betrayed. That much was clear from the beginning. There were no threats, no ultimatums, she didn't need them. Her power came from something far deeper. Something unspoken yet absolute. Henry understood it instinctively. She had given him everything, her loyalty, her protection, her presence, and in return, she expected the same. Their relationship was not built on love in the way he once understood it. There were no illusions of romance, no whispered promises of forever. Instead, there was certainty, cold, unshakable certainty. As he watched her across the room, effortlessly commanding the space around her, Henry recognized something in her that he had lost in himself long ago: control. Fiona had never been a victim, not even in betrayal. She had taken her pain and forged it into something impenetrable, something untouchable, and now, she had done the same with him. Their life together was not tender, but it was solid, indestructible in ways love never could be. And as Fiona met his gaze with a knowing smirk, Henry felt something settle deep within him. This was not love, it was something far more enduring. It was a contract, and he had no intention of breaking it. Betrayal, loss, and power struggles are not just the themes of a story, they are realities many face in life. Whether in relationships, friendships, or business, trust is fragile, and once broken, it rarely returns the same. The lesson here isn't about revenge, but about self-respect. If someone continuously takes you for granted, deceives you, or diminishes your worth, don't waste energy seeking justice. Redirect that energy into rebuilding yourself. Strength isn't found in retaliation, it's found in knowing when to walk away. Reclaim your power, and never let anyone reduce you to an option again. Your loyalty should be earned, not exploited.